Oh man, we gotta be up there. Like one of the top players with the toughest. It ranks in toughness because we lack in size and we not be as talented and athletic. But we gonna go out there and play with a lot of heart. We gonna go out there and play with 5 guys that might be 6 feet. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else gonna have kids at 6'7", 6'6", but we gonna put out 5 people out there that's gonna play and it's gonna be a game.
Marcus Isaiah Hatten, born December 13th, 1980. A straight hooper, 100% to his core, even to a fault, a hell of a hooper. Had heart, big balls, that could hoop. A direct quote from a former opponent of Marcus Hatten that obviously had respect for his game, and like most people that watched his very brief Division I career, knew that on the floor, Hatten was raw. But that's just the thing. Raw only gets you so far. Darius Miles was raw. Steve Francis, Allen Iverson, all raw talents that reached different peaks in their careers. In Iverson's case, sometimes it works out for you. Although with a little refinement, I think AI may have snuck away with at least one chip. Steve Francis, with some reshaping to himself and a better attitude specifically when being traded to Orlando, could have had a lengthier career. Marcus Hatten's story is one you wish you could rewrite and add those small things to his package that could have made him a veteran NBA talent instead of going undrafted and basically, outside the hood, never heard from again. Here's 3 stunts in his career that in my opinion hadn't happened, could have changed this uber talented basketball player's life. It's your boy JC, stuntedgrowth3.com. Let's get it, man. Marcus Hatten is a 6'1" point guard from Baltimore, Maryland. Like most inner city kids, he grew up fighting difficult times on a day-to-day living and trying to make it out the hood. According to Marcus, Baltimore basketball is the exact representation of what it means to have heart. You might see a team with 5 guys that may be 6 feet, but we're gonna play with heart, he says, when reflecting on what hooping is like in Baltimore. Hatten is a well-respected player and person because of this, and also because he represents the normal kid out there with a dream and not much to work with. After researching his story and seeing what he eventually became, I can't help but like the guy, and also notice how happy he still remains to seem. But here's the first stunt in his growth that could have changed his life. Stunt number 1, not leaving St. John's. Leaving high school, Marcus Hatten wasn't even on the radar as far as Division I recruiting. Like mentioned earlier, Hatten was still very raw, and because of it, had to take the junior college route in order to develop his skills and ready them for college basketball at the highest level. Upon setting off for his freshman year at Tallahassee Community College, Hatten knew he had the talent to be a featured player for a Division I school and proved he deserved that chance as a freshman, averaging 16 points a game. As a sophomore, he upped that average to 24 points a game, shooting over 50% from the field. This was good enough to have St. John's and Coach Mike Jarvis knocking on his door with a scholarship to their program. For New Yorkers, the tri-state, Baltimore, D.C. area natives wanting to stay close to home, it doesn't get much better than St. John's. Hatten came into a program looking to rebuild, having missed the tournament the previous year, and freshman point guard Omar Cook leaving after just his first season. It was a fortunate situation for Marcus because he could step in with no pressure and as the Johnny's main scoring option and do him. Perfect for raw talents. Being in the right situation and allowed to be yourself is the only situation raw talents strive, and Hatten found himself in the perfect mix. He didn't disappoint. Right out the gate, he showed Jarvis and everyone watching that he was easily their best player and pretty much the only real scoring option the team had. He was called on often to make big shots, and he never shied away from the challenge. Sports writers by mid-season were writing about St. John, saying that Jarvis should be looking to replace anyone on his team not named Marcus Hatten. That's how good he immediately was for the program. This showed in the success of the team as well. With Hatten as the leader of the ship, they made the tournament, something last year with Omar Cook, who was the third pick, couldn't do. They lost in the first round to Wisconsin and Devin Harris, who had 14 points. Marcus Hatten, 28 points and 6 rebounds. He did shoot horribly that game, attempting 33 shots, 13 threes, and only having 1 assist, but it at least showed that offensively he could score and wasn't afraid of taking shots. Something I'd covet as a GM or scout because it shows a guy's heart. Kobe once said, "If I don't shoot it, how will I have a chance to score? I want to score." Hatten wanted to score, and in his first Division I year, he did. He averaged 20 points a game, 4 assists, 5 rebounds, and started every game. After the NCAA loss, many scouts thought he'd be gone for sure and probably be a high draft pick. I remember watching a series on St. John's, and in one clip, there was Marcus talking to Coach Jarvis about going pro. That one clip taught me so much about what happened to Marcus in that moment. Jarvis basically told Hatten, don't even think about going pro. In fact, next press conference, say this and put that to bed. Marcus shook his head, walked away, and that was all I needed to see. As kids, we hold what grown-ups say to us at the highest, sometimes forced standard, especially in basketball where your bad attitude or defiantness could end your career. Hatten was simply misguided, not only by Coach Jarvis, but his entire circle. Leaving that year would also have helped him avoid one of the most top-heavy and heavily regarded drafts in the 2003 class. The 2002 class could have seen Hatten definitely be a first-rounder, even as high as 17, where the Wizards took Juan Dixon. Frank Williams and John Salmons were also first-round picks. Marcus Hatten was arguably better than both in college. He decided on coming back, and even though he had another great scoring year, it left his game up for exposure when his numbers shone. He still wasn't very efficient from the field or from three, shooting 38% as a junior from the field and just 42% in his senior season. From three, 28% and 30% respectively. His assists also declined and turnovers rose, all while being on a team that missed the tourney. Hatten should have left. It was a huge decision, and I wish he had someone different advising him.
The paper had something this morning about the fact that you were going pro.
No, that's not the case.
I know it's not. I know. Look at me. I know it's not. So what you want to do, see, even if it were the case, and I would tell you that even if you were thinking about it, that if you really were, you tell them there's no way. You tell them that I came here to get an education.
Stunt number 2, mentality. Which leads me to this, his second most important growth stunt. Hatten, like mentioned, is from the hood, as they say. Through and through, absolutely loves his neighborhood and genuinely cares about his community, which we'll see later. But his loyalty may have been to a fault because of the mentality it built for him or vice versa. Remember, this was the early 2000s where braids, cornrows, oversized clothing, and baggy jeans were in style. This was also the era where you didn't have too many people that knew and would share the secrets of the professional basketball maze and what it took to survive it. You know what Hatten said when he walked away from Mike Jarvis in that fateful conversation that led to him coming back to school?
I ain't in no rush to do nothing, you know what I'm saying? NBA gonna be there for God knows how long, and I'm just gonna take my time.
That couldn't be further from the truth. Maybe if we think of the NBA as the entity or the building, yeah, it'll always be there. But for you, the human who gets older by the minute, for you, the JUCO guy that struck gold in your first year, for you, the kid from the streets with limited opportunities to make it out, no sir, the NBA most certainly won't always be there. And I question anyone giving that horrible advice, especially a black male with the resources Hatten had as a child. Jarvis, as a grown man, should have developed and relayed that knowledge to Marcus because he himself just wasn't mentally ready to be a pro at that time. Even when he did leave for the draft in 2003, he still wasn't developed far enough from the block to understand the business of basketball. This is by his own admittance. Word on the street is that he didn't present himself professionally enough to be worthy of investing in. He'd do things like show up to NBA draft workouts and meetings in a white t-shirt down to his shins, dusty braids, and some hoop sneakers with his shorts on under his pants like, yo, we about to run them ones? Everyone else is trying to look the part, especially when the NBA is making a change from the Allen Iverson image to a more refined, high-class man. Hatten presented himself as immature, poorly guided, and not ready or aware of the gravity of the situation. And that hurt him, according to my sources. Stunt number 3, the Knicks. Knicks fans, you may want to shut it down now, because following is some pretty funny but pretty real roasting, and also how the outside world views your franchise, so I'm sorry. But wouldn't the one pick away from Steph Curry, washed Penny, more washed T-Mac, signing a player who choked his coach, mascot-loving Marty Collins first round drafting, right after you took Ronaldo Boltman, giving up 2 picks and more for Eddie Curry, Isaiah Thomas hiring, Jordan Hill at 8 when DeMar DeRozan, Brandon Jennings, who was perfect for your franchise, Drew Holiday, Jeff Teague, both All-Stars are still on the board, and not taking Marcus Hatten when the fans in the arena were all shouting for you to draft the St. John's kid. What is going on there? You know who they did take? Marcige Lampe at 30, who played maybe a handful of games for the franchise. Slavko Vranjes, who played 0 games for you, and only 1 in the league. You took him in the 2nd round over Hatten, who was first team All Big East both years in college, and a style point guard you were looking for, could have easily fit there and be a marketing genius move had you did it. But in typical Knicks fashion, they passed on Marcus, and so did every other team as he went undrafted. He would go on to have a preseason with the Clippers and a lengthy career overseas. He's now a motivational speaker, mentor for the kids in his neighborhood, and fitness coach. But seriously, all in all, Hatten was a tremendous talent. But for these reasons above, his growth was stunted. Salute to him. I think he's a success, and I respect his contributions to the game. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth, and I'm out.
NBA gonna be there for God knows how long. I'm just gonna take my time.